Call the Sacramento County Board of Supervisors meeting of August 7th back to order. Please take the roll.
Supervisor Frost?
Here.
Kennedy?
Here.
Natoli?
Here.
Cerna?
Here.
Peters? You have a quorum.
Here.
Item number 36, Jail Conditions of Confinement, Americans with Disabilities Act lawsuit update.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. I'm Britt Ferguson, as you know, the county's Chief Fiscal Officer. This morning, wanted to provide your board with a brief update on a recent event that has potentially significant implications for the county's fiscal condition. As you're aware, on July 1st, Disability Rights California and the Prison Law Office filed a lawsuit against the county alleging violation of jail inmates' rights under the 8th and 14th Amendments to the Constitution and the Americans with Disabilities Act. To assess what the cost might be of addressing issues raised by the DRC PLO, the Sheriff and Correctional Health Services prepared staffing implementation plans. These plans would require adding at least 195 positions, increase operating costs by at least $45 million annually, and involve $160 million in capital costs. Again, this is just an estimate of what might be needed under different assumptions, not what certainly wouldn't necessarily be needed. As your board is aware, we do not have $160 million.
I'm sorry, Rick, can you go over those numbers one more time?
Sure. These plans, which again are just one approach, would require adding at least 195 new positions, increase annual operating costs by at least $45 million, and involve $160 million in capital costs.
Thank you.
And as your board is aware, we do not have $160 million laying around to cover the capital costs. If the county were to sell bonds to cover part of the capital costs, adding debt service to the operating costs could result in annual additional costs of approximately $55 million. $55 million is approximately 8% of current total net county costs, that is, the discretionary funding for all county programs. Increasing net county costs by that amount or more immediately or in the short term would require service level reductions in other areas. And even if higher jail operating capital costs could be phased in over, say, 5 years, something that is by no means certain that it would be even possible, the higher annual costs could impact the county's ability to fund existing programs, given a number of factors, which I'm just going to sort of highlight, most of which your board is well aware of. First of all, as your board is aware, if the economy stays strong, we believe the best we could hope for in terms of discretionary revenue growth every year would be around 5%. That's about $30 million a year. And if the economy were to slow down, then growth would probably be less, potentially significantly less than that. Out of that additional discretionary revenue, we need to fund cost of living increases for existing employees and programs, which would probably be in the area of around 2 to 3% a year. We will also need to deal with the impact of a number of known or potential cost increases or revenue decreases, including the state-mandated increase in the in-home support services maintenance of effort requirement. If that occurs, which it's currently scheduled to occur under state law, unless the legislature makes a change, we estimate that could add as much as $20 million to $30 million a year in additional net county cost over the next 5 years. We also face the potential end of the federal foster care Title IV-E waiver, which, if that occurs, and right now we think there's at least a better than 50% chance that it will, that could reduce revenue that funds critical programs in child protective services, probation, and other areas by between $25 million and $30 million a year. We're also looking over the next 5 years at reduced revenue from revenue neutrality payments, which comes from city and corporation agreements. By the end of the 5-year period, that reduction will be about $7 million a year. We're also looking at increased costs due to the 3-year phase-in of a reduction in the county retirement system rate of return assumption, which your board is aware of. We will be looking at additional operating costs related to improvements being made at the Rio Casumas Correctional Center under the NSB 2022 grant. That will be in the area of $6 million a year additional within the next 5 years. Your board approved a contract with IHSS caregivers providing a supplemental wage increase. That will increase costs by about $7 million a year over the next 5 years. And there are other lawsuits, such as the Hardesty lawsuit, that have the potential to impact county costs over the next 5 years. As your board is aware, staff is working on a long-term fiscal sustainability plan for the county, but clearly adding $55 million a year or more than that in additional costs would make that effort significantly more challenging. At this point, we're not asking for any direction from the board, providing an update. County's legal counsel will file a response to the lawsuit, and we will continue to keep your board updated as the lawsuit progresses.
Thank you. Mr. Natoli?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair, and thanks, Britt. I think obviously what you've outlined here is a bit of a higher level view of certainly the cost centers that the county already either has commitments to and or that could be coming down the pike relative to either legislation and or other I guess foreseen types of activities versus the unforeseen, which certainly in county land that can happen as well. I guess what I wanted to just probe a little more deeply, and again, we've spent many hours certainly in these chambers with you and county staff, but all our partners in the community and community services. And over the last 10 years, obviously it's been a pretty up and down ride, and in the last couple of years we've been able to at least look at dealing with some very severe needs in the community. I guess my question here is, as it relates to the dollar numbers, and again, you certainly have been here for a good portion of that time, and recognizing that the multitude of things that county provides relative to services and programs, and we have many partners in the community as well, certainly in the area of human services and social services. What would be, again, without getting into all the detail, because obviously it would be decisions, but what would be the order of magnitude if recognizing in the recession, we for a combination of reasons, I mean, we made hundreds of millions of dollars in cuts. We laid off 1,500 county employees, cut 3,000 positions. We've been able to build back a bit of that. But we devastated parks. Certainly animal care, even law enforcement was hit. Certainly human services, child protective services, services for frail adults and vulnerable citizens in this county. All of those took major reductions, and again, we still haven't, by any means, fully recovered from that. But I think again worked, very hard to be efficient in delivery of services and to, deal with quality of life issues, and some of them a matter of life or death in some cases, as relates to people who are frail or vulnerable. So I guess I'm just curious, Britt, having sat with this board, brought many recommendations, having certainly been responsible for the fiscal oversight. Anything else you could add as to, without again, certainly understating or overstating it, that would kind of give us some comparison to what we came through over the last few years, because these numbers all have some relationship, obviously, to looking forward. But I guess as to what it might mean, again, bottom line, it's services to the entirety of the population in one way or the other of the county of people in the county of Sacramento. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think other than to say, $55 million is about 8% of current net county costs. That puts that in perspective. And of course, that net county cost will grow with salary increases and other things as times progress. Perhaps one way to sort of put it in perspective is to think about over the last 4 years or so, your board has invested the annualized amount of about $40 million in growth or new programs or services, ranging from homeless initiatives to the neighborhood and parks cleanup initiative to intelligence-led policing, to all of the various initiatives that your board initiated to provide needed services in the community. So that's the annual value of 4 or 5 years of that. May put that in perspective, but basically net county cost is about $680 million is the total amount. So that, rather than, I don't think I want to go through individual programs right now because I think that's really premature, but that perhaps puts it in perspective.
Okay. And again, we framed those obviously been termed as initiatives, but some of those were restoration of services that had been cut. Others were to, again, as you just said, and certainly this board well knows, as does the community, to address, very serious issues that affect, again, people's health and welfare, but certainly, not just the quality of life, but to be safe and secure and within their persons. And again, dealing with, child death situations and, certain segments of our community with frail elderly and such. I guess the other thing I would just want to note, because I think it's relevant and to what you present here today, and certainly the backdrop behind this, as it relates to health services provided in the correctional system. If memory serves me correct, we're at around $50 million a year. Much of that is net county costs, realignment dollars. Is that correct? Currently,
yes. In correctional health services, yes.
So again, and we have actually supplemented that in recent years, in addition to some of the other things you talked about, growth, but in restoration. So we recognizing that at the same time we were closing health clinics in the public arena, in the community, we maintained those services. Again, that's part of obviously the discussion here, but we maintain those services for the population and the folks that were incarcerated, both in juvenile system but also in the adult system. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. I don't see any other comments here. Thank you, Britt. I think we all appreciate you and the CEO and your staff combing through the budget to try and give us a sense of where this is going. And I assume we'll have something more on it at budget when we come back in September?
Yes, we will. Yes.
Okay. No more comments, so thank you very much.
Madam Chair, the off-agenda speaker is in chambers.
Yes, I see that. Thank you. So we've finished that, and we'd go to off-agenda. Carolyn Colbert.
Good morning, Board.
Good morning.
I'm Carolyn Colbert, and I know I only have like 3 minutes. I'm trying to look at my notes. I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
I know I only have 3 minutes to where is it? I'm sorry. I only have 3 minutes to speak. I'm a former county employee. I worked for the county of Sacramento for over 30 years. My sister in the audience also worked for the county until she got ill. My daughter also worked for the county, like at Black Infant Health, little community-based. The problem we're having is for years, there is someone that is, we thought we knew who it was, but I'm not going to accuse anyone without actual proof, even though we feel we have enough documentation. It's just been like kind of downplayed, but the person we suspect is doing it, we can't prove, but they've been over the years very, like, I know if you heard the term gang stalking, but to make a long story short, my daughter has moved twice in 1 year because she didn't feel protected. And now when we go to the Sacramento sheriff to turn in documentation, they won't accept it. So as we're mothers, we're women, there's no men except my son who is disabled. He couldn't really help us. He doesn't live with me. So how do we protect ourselves if the sheriff will not take documentation? Just recent in May, I went right here to 711G, and I was told by the bailiff, no. So last year in May, I requested my records. I wanted to see what they had compiled, and they couldn't find anything, so I got an attorney to request them, and this is all they gave me. I had stacks. I had way more stuff of things happening. So I wanted to know, who do we go to for our law enforcement, or if there's an issue? When I went in May, the reason I went was my granddaughter's a minor, which you guys gave her a resolution a few months ago. She did the project. She won the state, the county-wide history exam on water. And someone kept texting her saying they got her number off of a dating site, and you can see her responding, "I'm underage, leave me alone, stop." And they just kept on and kept. That alarming to me. There's too much sex trafficking. People, you hear every day girls running off with men. I went to tell them that someone is merging into our calls, and I wanted to turn that in about the person texting my granddaughter. He said, no, he won't take it. Is it because we asked for our records and we had an attorney help us because they can't answer? Last May, I didn't have a car. I caught the bus, 10-minute walk from my house and the light rail to come here to ask for my records. I kept going back and forth. They said, go to Orange Grove, high-tech unit. They didn't have it. I went to 65th where I submitted a lot of my paperwork. They said it would have came downtown. So finally I just asked an attorney, can you request my records? I don't have the money to pay an attorney, but I feel like what's going on? My daughter moved twice in 1 year because she didn't feel safe. This is just some of the documentation that we have of continuing phone calls. She puts in my daughter will, nowadays everything's electronic, so when she goes to apply for a job, she'll get an email in the middle of the night, misspell words, we're sorry, you're not qualified, blah, blah, blah. She'll go in person, they'll say, we didn't send that to you.
Ms. Cullert, we're about 4 minutes into this, so I think the best thing is for you to talk to the county executive, and he can help you maybe sort out where to go, and or maybe his assistant, Rob Leonard. You do know the sheriff's a separately elected official, so we don't have any comment or ability to influence the his response back to you, but someone in the county executive's office could possibly, although I think your attorney would probably pretty much know what to do, but as to someone in the county that could help you, he could give you his card when we finish here.
Mrs. Peters, Susan, but you guys are over CPS, right?
Yes.
And that's my second complaint.
Okay, well, and of course, we can't comment on any CPS
No, but I
cases.
just want you guys to know, I went to Supervisor Kennedy in December. I contacted your secretary, and she told me to go back to the ombudsman, but the person wasn't helpful. So I was told...
I would suggest you talk to our county executive.
Okay, for them too also? Okay.
I'm sure he can sort it out for you as to which part of your problem goes to, if any, county department.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see, at this point in time, we'll go to, that's our last item, if I understand it correctly. So we will go to county executive comments?
No comment.
None? Supervisor comments? Ms. Frost? Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Sorry, I was looking at him saying, I'm sorry, he waved his hand, so. Said your
Is it
name,
me?
looked at Phil. Okay, go.
A couple weeks ago, I was looking into something, I was looking something up in the county codes, and I came across code number 3.12.150, which refers to the Sacramento County Recorder as a man. And that struck me as odd because our Sacramento County Recorder, Donna Allred, happens to be a woman, and she's not the first woman who was the Sacramento County Recorder. We had another one 25 years ago by the name of Joyce Russell Smith. And so I did a little more poking around and found several other examples where there were positions referencing men holding the positions when women were actually holding the positions. And I thought, I don't think this is a huge issue, but I wanted to bring it up to see if the staff could look through our codes and bring them up to date. Not tomorrow. I know the county staff are really busy, and this isn't something really pressing like, yes. Did you?
If you'd care to have a response, the county counsel's office and the county executive's office is in the process of a full review of the Sacramento County codes, and one of the things we'll be doing is looking to gender neutralize, but also to update and bring current any of the both outdated as well as grammatical improvements or error corrections.
Good. That I mean, updating those ordinances just matches the reality that, you know, women do play an equal part in leadership in our communities and in our government, and it should be referenced neutrally. I didn't know if that was a big effort, and if it is, I know in next year in March we're going to have Women's History Month, so that might be a great time to bring that before the board, if not before that. Anyway, that's great. I'm glad to hear you're doing that. Thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. Cerna?
Thank you. Great point. Thanks for pointing that out, Supervisor Frost. I think it's a point well taken. Just wanted to note that, of course, tonight is National Night Out, and I know we're all going to be extremely busy going to various venues, and I just wanted to remind anyone that might be catching this broadcast that we're going to be having our 4th National Night Out hosted at Jack Davis Park. That is District 1 is hosting it. And this is in the South Oak Park Fruit Ridge Pocket neighborhood, where residents can have ample opportunity to understand and put a face to the department name of your county government. We typically have no less than about a dozen county agencies out there with various representatives, everyone from the Sheriff's Department to probation to the Parks Regional Parks Department. We also have some of our special district partners that are participating with us as well. So I look forward to seeing everyone this evening in Jack Davis Park at 5:30.
Anyone else have comments? Thank you. I think we'll all be out for National Night Out at various locations, so encourage everyone to go to their neighborhood National Night Out parties. And I do have an adjournment in memory of Marilyn Evans tonight. Last month, the residents of the unincorporated area lost a true advocate on their behalf with the passing of Marilyn Evans. She was a native of Spokane, Washington, and after marrying her husband, Dr. Tom Evans, she later took up residence here in the unincorporated area in 1968. She was a registered nurse, but she dedicated her passion toward preserving and creating open spaces where everyone could enjoy nature. She was affectionately known as the Mother of Parks after leading efforts to purchase property for Ashton Park in the Wilhagen area, as well as she helped create the Mission Oaks Recreation and Park District, which is a dependent park within the county of Sacramento. She was chairman for 2 terms of the Mission Oak Park District Advisory Board and played a key role in the acquisition and development of many parks and recreation areas. Her dedication to our local parks was reflected in her final wishes, asking that in lieu of flowers, donations be made to the Sacramento Parks Foundation, which is a nonprofit 501c3 organization that unifies several local park districts, the Arcade Creek, Arden Manor, Fulton El Camino, Mission Oaks Park districts, by working together to provide recreational classes and services for the residents of the unincorporated area. Now, I know she'll be missed, but the wonderful parks that we have in Sacramento County will forever be her legacy, and I'd like the board to adjourn in her memory. Is there any other business, Madam Clerk?
Madam Chair, item number 37 will be continued to August 21st. The clerk will continue the item, and no afternoon session.
Anything else? Okay. We're adjourned.
Session.